My name is Chris Sinclair, and this is Assignment 5, which is about revisions to the previous lesson that I did with my students for this class. Um, my focus was on news writing, teaching my students the inverted pyramid and how to write a news story based on the inverted pyramid. So, some things that went well. Students were very engaged, which I was surprised by because typically they like doing projects, but they don't like them when they have a lot of writing to do. So, I was really surprised by seeing how engaged they were over the course of the class periods that I did this assignment. Also, most students enjoyed organizing the inverted pyramid, which I thought was cool. They really liked having a class discussion to figure out who put, what fact is their number one most important fact, and then number two and number three. So it was just cool to hear their thought process as to why they chose what they chose. And then also by the end of the lessons that I did for this, there were three stories they wrote. 92% of the students in the class showed that they were proficient with using the inverted pyramid and writing a news story, which was pretty cool. Revisions that I would want to make. I think I should have shown more examples of strong news stories in the beginning so that students knew or could kind of compare an inverted pyramid with how they structured the news story. I think it would help to make more sense for the students. I also think I should have given them more time with the first news story because I only gave them probably about a full class period to do it. And they kind of struggled on that one. So should have given them more time. And then also by the end, I realized I should have given them a few simple assignments in between the big hard news stories that they wrote. They just kind of did it back to back to back, and I could see by the end that they were kind of getting tired of it, kind of had the burnout. So I should have thrown some things in between that were either a little more fun or just a little easier on the brain to process. How do the tasks yield appropriate evidence of the identified understandings? I think the inverted pyramid was a really good assessment to use because it showed me what the students saw as most important to least important. And it was also easy for the students to understand. And then also just using those organized facts to write the story that came after that and seeing how they transitioned the paragraphs for their stories and worked from most important to least important. So, how do the tasks involve a complex, real world, authentic application of the identified knowledge, skill, and understandings? Um, I think learning the technique of writing is important in any career, and I always stress that to my students. So, learning the inverted pyramid, I think, is important for any life skill. And then also giving them the writing opportunity for the last story for the newspaper at our school, I think kind of made them want to try harder because they really wanted to try and get their story on our school newspaper. How are a variety of appropriate assessment formats used to provide additional evidence of learning? The inverted pyramid worked as a nice graphic organizer, so I could see kind of what the students were thinking and how they were kind of processing the information and putting it into their own words. So that was a really good assessment tool for me. And then just the news story kind of worked as a nice summative assessment to see how they process the inverted pyramid, how they organize the information, and then again how they transitioned their paragraphs and their sentences as the story progressed. So those were the two really good assessments from this assignment that showed me that there was evidence of my students learning. And then last, how are the students given the opportunity to self-assess and reflect upon their learning and performance? So they did peer editing, which I thought was really good. They got to get some feedback from their peers in class, which worked really well. And then the ability to make revisions and to kind of talk them through that and to kind of point out, a little flaw here or there in their writing and seeing how they could better word their sentences and letting them kind of go through that process also worked really well. Allowed them to reflect over how they did and what they could do to improve.